Yes! I don't care what Gordon Gekko says, greed is not good, especially when it comes to the 7 deadly sins of photography. Hello, welcome to iansstudio. I'm Ian Butterfield. In our previous video on the 7 deadly sins of photography, we looked at gluttony, the sin of making more and more images, sometimes at the expense of other photographers. This time we turn our attention from the desire to have more images to the desire to have more gear. This is the photographic sin of greed. You've probably heard the story about the photographer who got fed up with his friends saying that his photos were fantastic, followed by, "You must have a really good camera." At the end of a dinner party at his friend's house, he turned to the host and proclaimed, "What a wonderful meal. You must have a really good oven." We can laugh at this, and we're all quick to remind people that it's the photographer that makes the photograph and not the camera. But do we really believe it? Subconsciously, many photographers think, if I had a better camera, I could make better photographs. This in turn fuels the desire to buy the next lens, the next camera body, the next speed light, and so on. And even if you know it's not all about the equipment, how many of us behave like cats chasing after the latest shiny thing? Don't believe me? Take a look in your camera bag and count up how many photographic gadgets you've got that you haven't used in the last 12 months. Actually, come to think of it, count up how many camera bags you've got too. We all have more photographic equipment than we really need. And there is an acronym for it in the photography world: GAS. G-A-S, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And there's another phrase that gets used often: all the gear, no idea. I once had a photographer introduce himself to me at an event that I was running with exactly that phrase. He was in the fortunate position that he'd been able to buy a lot of top-end gear, but then he realised that it wasn't about the equipment, and he was the first to admit that he had no idea how to use it. You may be surprised at how often I get asked questions like, "I want to buy a second lens, what should I get?" Or, "I want to upgrade my camera, what should I buy?" Now, both of these questions are impossible to answer without a lot more information, and I almost always give the same response. It's the response I give to any photographer that's suffering from gas. What's frustrating you about your photography? If you are not frustrated by your gear, then you've not explored all that it can do. You've not pushed it to its limits. When you start to become frustrated because you can't create the images that you want to, because your gear is getting in the way, then and only then is it time for you to upgrade. Let me give you a couple of examples from my own photographic journey. In 2003, when I became a professional photographer, I purchased my first DSLR. It was a crop sensor camera, and it was before the days of the EFS Canon lenses that were designed for crop sensors. It meant I was not able to create any wide-angle images. On a trip to the Middle East, I discovered that I was missing shot after shot after shot because I couldn't capture the entire scene that was in front of me. This was the trigger for me to upgrade to a full-frame camera. And more recently, even though I'm not a wildlife photographer, I was becoming increasingly frustrated that I couldn't get in close enough on those rare occasions when I was photographing wildlife. And at the same time, I was becoming more frustrated at the need for a wider aperture when doing theatre photography in low light. That was the time to purchase the Canon 70-200mm f2.8 lens. Oh, and a 2x converter for the wildlife photography that I don't do very often. So to conclude this discussion on greed in photography, are you suffering from gas? If you are, Try asking yourself this question. What is frustrating me about my photography? What is preventing me from creating the images I want to create? If you can't answer that, or you can't say how the bit of kit you want to buy will solve it, then please be honest with yourself. Don't buy it. Don't buy that kit. Instead, learn to use what you've already got. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. And until next time, keep making great photos. Now, where was I? Oh, bother. Bankrupt.